Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. I've got more. I came up with 20 more. So we've got episode number, this is 70 now, and then I will do 71 through 80 next week. And after that, I'm done. That's going to be as far as it gets. It's just amazing the different ways that you can think of collecting notes once you put your mind to it. And every time I think I'm done, I'll come up with like one or two more, so I have to start another list, and then before you know it, we're off again. Just to catch you all up, people always ask me, what should I collect? And the answer to that is always collect what you like. The problem is, what do you like? Well, the only way to tell is to see a bunch of different things. And once you start to see all the different things that are out there, certain things, you're going to gravitate towards certain things. There is no right or wrong way to collect. I'm simply giving you even more ideas of how to collect. I've done 6 of these top 10 lists already. This is number 7, and I am concluding next week with number 8. They are in no particular order. These are just as I thought of them. I didn't rank them or anything like that. So it's just 10 more ideas, or should I say 10 even more ideas on how to collect. All right. First this week, number 1, I went with experimental notes. Here's a web note. You can tell the web note because it just has the 1 digit right there, and there is no location on the note right here. The other way you can tell is on the back. The plate number is up here. Web notes were done on a printing press similar to that of how they printed newspapers, so you can find these in circulation. It was an experiment done to see if they could print notes faster, but they weren't happy with the ideas and the results. So once the parts started breaking on the machines, they didn't bother to replace them, and that ended the series. 88A to 88A, 93, and 95. Those are the years you can find web notes, and that's how to identify them. And there are also experimental notes like the R and S notes, the silver certificates where they changed the coating on the notes, trying to see if that would make the notes last longer. I'm sure there are other examples of experimentals, but when I thought of experimentals, these are the ones that came to mind. So that's number 1 this week. Number 2, I went with animals. There are a number of notes featuring animals. Some of them more dramatically than others. Here's a couple elk with an eagle on there. The woodchopper with his dog. I don't know how many other notes have a dog on them, but there you go. You've got the jackass note, of course, featuring the eagle, which turns into a donkey. This one's got a cow, full-blown cow on there. That's pretty cool. What else do we got on here? Oh yeah, the bison. That could be considered a note with an animal. And of course, the black eagle. 2 very famous notes featuring animals. There's all kinds of different animals. You don't necessarily have to just go with the eagle like so many people do. You can find 4-legged animals, 2-legged animals, flying animals, furry animals, feathered animals. There are snakes. Snakes are an animal. Found this out watching one thing that pointed out that worms are definitely animals. Biggest argument for why a worm is an animal, because it's not a mineral or a vegetable, so it's an animal. Anyway, animals. Another way you can collect. Number 2 this week. Number 3. Number 3 is notes featuring technology. Featuring the technology of the time is pretty cool. I mean, here's a MPC featuring a nuclear sub and an astronaut in space. I mean, that's pretty cool. Contrast that with a note from 1862 featuring the locomotive. The $5 silver certificate educational note actually features electricity. You can see the bolt of lightning shining there to light up the torch. And of course, we have the battleship. So yeah, notes that feature different types of technology of the time, always a cool way to go. You can do your own research as to what would be modern for the time, but it does make a cool collection. You do get some pretty impressive notes. That's number 3 this week. Number 4, I went with color, which is kind of a weird statement, but some notes are a lot more colorful than others. Here's a rainbow. Here's a obsolete that features a whole lot of green on the front like that. Here's a gold certificate featuring yellows on the front. And of course another obsolete where most of the inking is red. You can collect by color. You can actually make a full rainbow of colors with all the different varieties of notes that are out there. So trying to get notes of particular colors can be done, and it can lead to a very fascinating collection. That is number 4 this week. Number 5, let's see, I've got plastic and polymer notes. All of these notes are made of plastic, and our notes, I always say they're made of paper. Our notes are not paper. The notes that we have are actually a linen cotton blend, and so that's not really paper. And much like these are not paper either. These are all plastic notes. Very cool, very interesting to the touch. You can do interesting things like make them clear, like these here. You can put the holograms on there. So many cool things to do, as well as you can see here, they imprinted Braille on these, so you can actually touch them and feel them, not just feeling the ink, but feeling the raised bumps on there as well. So yeah, polymer notes. You can collect an entire series of polymer notes. Most of the world is going to polymer notes. I think the main reason why the US isn't going to polymer notes is because when you handle a US note, it has a very particular feel. That feel goes back to 1862. I mean, when you handle a note, you know you're handling a real note. In fact, many times, if a note is counterfeit and it's printed on the wrong paper, that's the first thing before you even look at the note. You'll feel that the note doesn't feel quite right. So because of that, that's one of the main reasons we haven't switched to a polymer note. But yeah, polymer notes all over the world. They are definitely popular, and everybody seems to be trending that way. So that's number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6. What do I have here? I have notes featuring dictators. Yeah, a lot of these dictators are no longer in power, so it's fairly easier to get these notes. Not quite so proud to have them at the time, but looking back, yeah, I mean, we all know who this guy is. You know, dictators, the kind of people who do anything to stay in power, regardless of legality. Yeah, there's another one featuring Saddam Hussein. So yeah, I don't have to really go through and explain to you what a dictator is. Simply knowing that when someone has power, they refuse to give up power, that's probably going to qualify as a dictator. How'd this get in there? Anyway, collecting notes featuring dictators. That is number 6 this week. Number 7, we're going to go with state issues. Now, state issues go way back. For instance, here is a Maryland $50. And this Maryland $50 here obviously was produced by the colony of Maryland, not by the U.S., because this one is from 1770, so there was no U.S. Technically, it wasn't even a state either, but it became a state, so we're going to call this one a state issue. Then you've got stuff like this here. This is the state of North Carolina issuing a 50-cent note. And some of the more famous ones, these are goldbacks. Now, you'll notice all of these are Utah goldbacks. So technically, these are state issues. Now, goldbacks, of course, made by other states as well. I believe Colorado, Nevada, New Hampshire, they also have their own state issue of goldback. So yeah, I would certainly call those state-issued notes. So that one is number 7 this week. Number 8. I don't have any of these, but someone brought it up, and I will continue it. They said, you talked about goldbacks, you didn't talk about silverbacks. Okay, well, a goldback is a representation of precious metal in paper form, okay? Quite literally, a goldback is 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold. Okay, so take 1 ounce of gold, divide it up into 1,000 pieces. When you talk about the price of gold, we'll call it $2,000. I don't know what it's actually at right now, but that makes it very easy to determine the price. $2,000, 1/1000th of that would be $2. So each gold back represents roughly $2. So when you have the different denominations, each of these contain that much gold. You can see this one here, 1/20th of an ounce, 1/40th of an ounce, 1/100th of an ounce, 1/200th of an ounce, and 1,000th of an ounce. So that's the goldback. But the silverback took the exact same idea, and just like the goldback did, goldbacks used 1/1000th of an ounce of gold in here. Silverbacks did the same thing with silver. So one silverback is 1/1000th of an ounce of silver. That's 2 cents, right? 1/1000th of an ounce of silver is worth 2 cents. I would have to assume that it cost a lot more than 2 cents to produce the 1/1000th of an ounce of silver. The other thing is the price. Granted, they only made 100,000 of these. If one silverback is worth 1/1000th of an ounce, that means they took 100 ounces of silver to make 100,000 silverbacks. I don't even collect silver, and I can dig up 100 ounces of silver in my house just based on how many Morgan silver dollars I have in my binder. Based on how much other junk silver I've got laying around. So even me, a non-silver collector, can come up with 100 ounces of silver. They took 100 ounces of silver, broke it up into 1,000 different pieces, actually 1,000 different pieces per ounce, so 100,000 pieces, and made silverbacks, which sell for, well, my last check on eBay, 1/1000th of an ounce of silver on a silverback was going for $70. 70 times 1,000 is 70,000. So they're turning their 1 ounce of silver into $70,000 using that. Is it a collectible? Yeah, sure. Is it something I'm going to collect? No, can't do it. Don't have the heart to pay $70,000 an ounce for silver. Can't do it. But anyway, those are silverbacks. From a collecting standpoint, yeah, there's only 100,000 of them out there. It is rare. It is unique. It is a different way to do it. Technically, it's paper. It's not paper. It's a polymer note, but it's a note nonetheless. So that is the silverback. We're going to call that number 8 this week. Number 9, we're going to go with notes that feature events. And what do I have for events? I've got, this is Columbus sighting land. That's what that event is there. And then on this one, we have the Pilgrims. This is, what does it say on there? Pilgrims, Landing of the Pilgrims. That's what that says there. Landing of the Pilgrims. So that's definitely a historical event. And if Columbus and landing of the Pilgrims, if that's your thing, you're really going to like this note, because there they are both. There's Columbus in sight of land, and there's the landing of the Pilgrims. They put them both on one note. There are other events too, such as what you find on the $2 bill. Recent $2 bills, I should say. This one's a 2003. And of course, it features the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So these are notes featuring historical events. There's a lot of different things that you can find. I know there's one featuring Pocahontas, where the baptism of Pocahontas, I think. You'll find a lot of those on the older notes. They can get a little expensive, but that doesn't mean you can't at least get the replicas, or just one that's in rougher condition. So that is number 9. And finally this week, number 10. I don't recommend collecting these, but a lot of people do. They're Where's George notes. And what I mean by not collecting these, yes, every time I find a Where's George note, I log it. But I don't collect them, you see. Because with Where's George notes, the fun of the note is to spend it and then get the email a month or two later saying someone else found it and see where they spent it. Where's George notes, it's a tracking site, and it allows you to track where notes have gone. It doesn't care who you are. You can make up any name you want for your name, but you give a location so that whenever you log notes, you are saying that this particular note was in this particular spot. And then you can look to see all the other spots on the country the note was. So, no, I do not collect Where's George notes, but I do participate. And I think that's more the thing, participating in Where's George. It's free to do. You don't have to stamp anything. You don't have to do anything. If you find one, just log it. If you choose to go out and get yourself a stamp, great. You don't even need a stamp. You can just write Where's George on the bill and see what happens that way. Anyway, that's what I got this week. Another top 10. I think that makes 70. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thanks for watching. See you next week.